Proclaim themselves national champions. That was a bad look. I thought
All right, let's try this one more time. The Lord be with you. All right, I do have a couple of announcements before we get into the to the meat of the meeting here tonight. So I'm going to turn it over to Leslie, who's going to announce the 50-50 winner. Maybe.
Ray wants to know.
Ready?
Ready.
Okay.
Ready to go.
0, 0. Thank you, Agnes.
Bingo.
5, 6, 1, 2, 1.
that's all she needs to do.
Who was behind me? Who was behind me?
Anybody?
Somebody has to get it. Hey, take a look.
I don't have one.
Whoever was behind me. It was between me and you. Who was between us in line?
6, 1, 2, 1. 121. Going once? Going twice?
No, we didn't get it.
All right.
All right.
You get to pick. Thank you.
There you go.
0, 0, 5, 6, 3, 7, 1. 371. Now, it is not possible that these people are not here.
And unless those tickets were thrown into the container. Is that you, Doug?
All right. All right.
$62 for our winner here, and $62 for the Satellite Beach Fire Department.
I do have two announcements that that you need to be aware of. The first announcement is just remember that we are live streaming, so keep that in mind. And then the second announcement is that we are also taking donations for the Satellite Beach Fire Department on Sunday as well. So please keep those two announcements in mind. So that is officially the winner of the 50-50 raffle. I do have the winner of the chili contest right in front of me. Very excited about this. So in first place is not me, so I'm kind of stunned by that. But in first place is Leslie once again. That is number 11. And then coming in second place is pot number 12, the Whitwards. And then in third place is Erin Camarucci, who could not be here tonight, but she did represent with third place chili. And then coming in honorable mention was K Maxey. K Maxey was pot number 1. Aaron was pot number 5. Whitward's 12. And the winning pot was pot number 11. I didn't even place. Like first place, good one, right? All right. Okay. So let's see if I can click through this, and I apparently can't. All right. Okay. There we go. So congratulations to the 9th chili champ. Vestry Elections will be the next thing that we're looking at. If you remember that there were 4 candidates for Vestry Election with 3 spots to be filled, those 3 spots are for a 3-year term on the Vestry. So please keep that in mind. Those coming off the Vestry are Keith Stanley, who was the senior warden, and Mark Camarucci, who was and is the treasurer, and Alex Cood, who was fulfilling a 2-year term of somebody that I can't remember who. But since it was a 2-year term, Alex unfortunately is not eligible to run again. So those who were up for Vestry election was, see if I can bring their names up here. So those are who's coming off. Those up for Vestry election were Glenn Peasy, Susan Mackay, Jeff Simmons, and Jeanette Stanley. So the first person to serve a 3-year term on the Vestry, not what I planned. Okay, we're gonna just do Dowsing Convention first because I can't see what's coming. I have to turn around here. Okay. Okay, Dowsing Convention first would be Garcia Barneswell Schmidt going to Dowsing Convention in 2023, as well as her husband Luke Schmidt, as well as Marie Carney, who is here somewhere. There she is. Those are the very unfortunate people who get to spend a weekend with me in probably Daytona. Should be fun. That is in a year from now. And Ted Hunt will fulfill any spot if any of you are not able to make it for any other reason. To the Vestry Elections. Once again, Glenn Feasy, Susan McKay, Jeff Simmons, and Jeanette Stanley. So, first of all, Glenn Feasy, welcome back to the Vestry, Glenn. Very excited to have you.
Excited to be there.
You love it. You do, you love it. Susan McKay, welcome to the Vestry. As well as Jeff Simmons, welcome to the Vestry. Those three will be serving a 3-year term on the Vestry. Very excited to have all three of them. So keep that in mind there. Here we go. Moving on from there. I am done with my announcements. I'm going to officially turn it over to Mark, who's going to run you through the treasurer report. And then once he's done, I will do the rector's report. And we should be out of here by 8 o'clock. Everybody looks at their watch. There you go.
I did too. I looked right at my watch, Todd. First thing I did. What are you looking for, Todd? Your mask? I don't know.
I sold it.
You sold it? All right. Okay, so hey, good evening, everybody. As Todd said, I am leaving the vestry, which I'm not sad about. However, I still maintain to be the treasurer. So as Todd alluded to, I will continue on and participating in with the vestry items. I obviously won't have a voting position, but we'll continue and maintain treasurer going forward. So I'd like to give you just a quick update of how we ended the year last year, how our overall financial state looks going into the future, and then give you a glimpse of. I will show you a summary of the 2022 budget. The detailed budget will be in your packet for you to review. And then a quick summary. So overall, when you look at the year, we planned for a very, 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 very negative budget last year. And so you can see when we planned for last year, coming out of, well, we thought we were coming out of COVID. We planned for a negative budget for the year. But I will say, from an overall planning for what we were going to spend, we came very, very close to what we had planned to spend. So that's positive. So we can forecast what we can spend. So that's great. That's good news. And then we were pleasantly surprised with the congregation and really everybody that stepped up for us to ultimately get really, really close back to almost a balanced budget to where we were only in the red by about 5K. So overall, really, really good from a 2021 perspective. And really want to thank everyone for making us, I would say, whole, and hopefully, as we'll see, we'll continue to grow and get better. The next one I would like to show you is just overall from a financial state. This is our all of our assets, and so although we ran a negative 5K last year from an asset perspective, you can see at the bottom our total assets from the end of 20 to the end of 21 were actually up about 40K. So those are also some of the contributions that we've received that have gone into our restricted accounts and those types of things. So again, really think it's very helpful for us to ensure that we can maintain to be very, very positive. So I would say I'm very happy with where we ended up coming through this COVID year, and we need to continue that momentum going into 23 because we're not out of this yet, guys, to be perfectly honest with you. So I wish we were, but we're not. Any comments or questions on where we are before I move on to what we plan to budget for the next year? With that, let's move on. So I will say, while from an let's talk about expenses. I would say while we ended up on our expenses very close to what we had forecast, I'll be perfectly honest with you, we had expenditures in places that we didn't expect, and we underspent in some areas and overspent in some areas. So this year, as we were planning the budget, especially with the maintenance was much higher last year than we had expected. So if you go and look at the detailed budget, we've actually increased part of our maintenance fees, our planned maintenance expenses the air conditioners that really kicked our butts this year. And then also having to deal with that building over there just to keep it mildly, minusculely operational. I don't know how to describe it, you know, so, well, at least there's internet over there and the lights are on. Let's put it that way. That's all it is. That's all there is over there. Yeah. So that's there. We also did, we did take the opportunity this year to increase the salaries of some of the employees as well too. That's been baked into the budget as well too, mostly to deal with inflation and those types of things. And to be honest with you, we haven't given the rector a raise, I don't think, since I've been on the vestry. So we did give the rector a raise this year as well too, and also Deanna a raise. So, and while it's related to inflation, we also want to do it based upon merit. And I will say, Todd and Deanna have been doing a fantastic job, and we need to try to continue to give them more money if we want to do it based upon merit. So really want to thank Todd and Deanna for all their work, and thank you. So contributions, so we're planning a little differently this year. So you can see expenses are up, but we are planning to try to get a little more contributions than we had in the plan. But overall, though, I am recommending as the treasurer / I don't know, I guess I'm finance committee also. I don't really know. I have recommended, and the vestry has approved us going into 2022 also with a negative budget, kind of similar to where we were last year. And I do believe that we will be able to eventually balance the budget as we go through the year. But I will say also that even if we don't, you saw some of how much of our cash assets we have. If we do have to run into our cash assets, which we do not want to do, we will be able to at least stay liquid and keep the church in a good spot. But I look to everybody to figure out, help us get back to that only being 5K under budget by the end of the year. Any help that we can get would be really, really appreciated. So just in summary, if there's no questions, a question on the budget, if you have a budget question, sure. Yeah.
Everywhere in there you show the budget going up and revenues going up, except bank interest.
Yeah. So we miscalculated it last year when we forecast it. So what I actually did this year was I actually just took our actuals and then raised it by the percentage that we're planning. So yes, that's a good catch, but we underestimated, and we only got about $650 in interest this year, which is better than the year before because we had like $3. So we've gone from $3 of interest to $650 of interest. But yeah, so I've been trying to get it to where it's as accurate and we can forecast as tight as possible. Any other budget questions? And if you do have any detailed questions, please, I mean, I'm available anytime. You always come to reach out to me and talk to me in general too. But this is the budget that I recommended as the finance committee, and then we have gone ahead and approved as a vestry. So in summary, I would say we're a really good spot in general from where we thought we would be. Just a side note, we actually did get our 2020 PPP loan forgiven in 21 as well too. So that's good to get rid of that. And then I would say we ended up better than the plan. We were still 5K negative, but we were better than the plan. And I would say I've got cautious optimism in this for 22. But as you can see, even with that cautious optimism, we're still going to go into the year starting with a plan that we're going to be negative. Comments? Questions? All right, great. Good enough, huh? All right. Now I gotta go back and make sure the live stream's still running.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Mark. Really appreciate that. He's absolutely amazing to work with. A lot of fun. So what I want to do is I just kind of want to walk you through last year briefly. Mostly what I want to talk about is the year ahead. And that's generally what we always do at the annual meeting is look at last year briefly, but look at where we're going in the year ahead. So I just want to look briefly at 2020 and 2021, and I know that this is probably your reaction to that because nobody wants to look back at those years. But a couple of things that I want to say about that is that in many ways, what we went through in 2021 is very similar to 2020. Like Mark said, we all along thought that we were getting out of COVID and just kept going back into it. And so much of 2021 is very similar to 2020. It might actually be even more frustrating than 2020 because we kept thinking that we were on the other side. Okay, take off the mask, and then 2 weeks later, put the mask back on. Take off the mask, put the mask back on. Can we read without the mask? No. Can we read? Yes. Can we process down and read it? No. Can we do it now? Yes. And it just kept going back and forth in all of this changing. And really, I mean, when I look back on it, I just want to say, like, we, as a congregation, we've walked through that in a spirit of grace that was just bathed in flexibility and understanding and love. And I really appreciate that. I think there were two people that I had to ask if they would please put a mask on. And they looked at me and they smiled and they pulled it out of their pocket and they put it on and we laughed and we joked about it for weeks and weeks and weeks. Um, I really appreciate just the flexibility and the love that was shown throughout these last 2 years. None of this is easy. None of this is what we want to go through. And you all have just done it in a manner that is makes it bearable, to have a group that loves each other enough to just walk through this. So I share that with you because as a priest, I get together with other priests sometimes when I have to. But I do sometimes get together with other priests, and they don't all have the same story. Some churches they have parishioners that are fighting with other parishioners about wearing a mask and not wearing a mask, and they've got parishioners that refuse to wear a mask in the service even though they've been asked multiple times, and it, it didn't have to be the way that it was at Holy Apostles, but it was, and I just want to thank you for that. And as Mark said, we're not out of it yet. You still have to wear a mask on Sunday, but hopefully that will go away soon. Um, so it wasn't all bad, but I do want to look at the top 10, the big 10. I always give you 10 things that I think were significant throughout the year that we achieved at Holy Apostles. Sometimes these get a little bit harder to come up with during COVID, because a lot of what we do isn't happening. And the last 2 years, I thought, there's no way that we're going to come up with 10 things that were significant. I had 12. I had to cut 2 of them out. So I'm going to walk you through them. Maybe they're not as big as they used to be, but they're still pretty cool. First of all, why is that up here? But that's okay. First of all, there's a new piano in the sanctuary, which is really, really cool. And I want to share with you how that came about. I was at a breakfast with Deanna and Diane, and I was going out of town the next day, and Diane said, "Hey, by the way, at some point down the road, you might want to think about getting a new piano." And so when I got back, I thought, "Hey, I'm just going to mention this in service, just to prime the wheels." And I think in like 3 weeks, like we had probably less than that. We had all the money that we needed and more, and we had to turn people down and say we're good. It's all done. I mean, that was amazing. That was super cool. So new piano, really, really cool. Also, we've got a new railing on the church ramp, which was desperately needed. So very excited about the new railing, which is, I think, sanded down. It's sanded down, right? Tom sanded it down. All right. Also, there's a third monitor installed in the sanctuary, and that may not mean anything to you, but it is a huge, significant thing for me when I wear my glasses. You can always tell when I'm not wearing my glasses because I'm just stumbling through the liturgy and I'm looking at Carol like, please help me. Um, so, but it enables me to see what you see. Because sometimes, if the slides are different from what I think, I just roll with it, and you all are like, I have no idea where he is. And now I can actually see what you see. So it's a pretty big deal. Also, we added a second nursery worker. Hannah King is now working in the nursery with Nancy, which does make us so that we are in code with the diocese, which was really, really important. So having two nursery workers is an important thing. We had two nursery workers for the majority of my time here, but getting that back was significant. Also, welcoming Elizabeth Murray as a deacon at Holy Apostles. It is really cool to work with Carol and Elizabeth, and they're very different from one another. And so sometimes I'm a little schizophrenic because I'm not sure which one I got. But especially if they wear a mask, they could just be interchangeable. But they're both really fun to work with, and it's been a delight to have you, Elizabeth, and we're just thrilled. So that's a really big thing for us. And then also, you get down here, we have live streaming of our services and teachings, which is really cool. A lot of work and effort and money went into being able to do this. So just keep that in mind as well. That's a big thing. As Mark already mentioned, we did get the loan forgiveness. When COVID first happened, they gave churches loans to keep them afloat, and basically with the promise that it will be forgiven, but you never know. And so we did get it forgiven, which is really great. We also, and this is something that I've wanted to share with you for quite a while. We did, as a vestry, agree to partner with Nancy Oliver. We had her come in and speak with you all. She preached at both services about the prison ministry. We've got a really good relationship with her. She's going to come back, I think, every 6 months and preach and talk to you all about the prison ministry and what's going on. And as a vestry, we did agree to financially support that ministry. So it's a really cool ministry to be involved in. But what's really cool about it is that we can build a relationship with Nancy and be able to get more and more involved in it. So that's another big thing that we were able to do this year. And then if you were to look around the church on just an average Sunday, I think what you would see is at least a third of the people there are new to Holy Apostles in the last 2 years. There's a lot of new families that are coming in, and it's just a joy to be able to welcome them into Holy Apostles. And I look at some of the families now after them being here for months or years, and I can't imagine Holy Apostles without them. And it's just really cool. We always knew that COVID was going to shake things up and that a lot of people would walk away from the church. What we never were able to factor in was that it would shake people up outside of the church as well, and that those people would begin entering into churches. And we began seeing that, and it's really a cool thing. So yeah. You've got that, and then the last thing, and this is no small feat. I always put something ridiculous at the end, but this is real. Nobody from Holy Apostles died of COVID in the last 2 years, and there are a lot of churches in the diocese that have had multiple deaths in their congregations. It's a significant thing, and just really, we're blessed as a congregation to be able to say that. So. That's the Big Ten for this year. I did scratch off 2 things. I can't remember what they were, but they were really good. All right, I'm gonna move you into the look ahead, and I put 3 things on here, and these are really 3 things in which I am focused on in this next year. Three things that the vestry's going to be focused on in the next year, and just three things that we're really going to be concentrating our efforts in. So the first is kind of a remaking of Holy Apostles, and I wrote more of it in here than I'm going to share with you tonight on this. So I do encourage you to read this. I know, some of it's not the most exciting read, but um, it does give you a good idea of where we are as a congregation, what's happening, and I do encourage you to read it. There's some great reports in here from people that are serving in ministries in the church, and it's important to know what they're doing. So, but yeah, I do encourage you to read this. But I'm going to give you the brief rundown of my own on tonight. So, rebuilding of Holy Apostles. So, if you look at the last 2 years, what you'll see is that there's tremendous loss at Holy Apostles. There's loss of parishioners. You don't have to attend more than a Sunday and look around and see that there's a lot less people than there used to be. There's loss of ministries that we used to do that are no longer taking place. Maybe they'll come back. Maybe they won't come back. There's a lot of things that are not quite in place yet. And so it's been 2 years of tremendous loss. And it's also been 2 years of amazing gains. And so, you look around at the things that have taken place over these 2 years, and just the live streaming in and of itself, and all of the effort that went into that. I mean, that changed Holy Apostles significantly. There are people that consider this their home church, or a church that they consider home, that live in Canada, that live in Washington State, that live in Gainesville. There's a guy in Satellite Beach who I have no idea who he is, but he watches on live stream and he pledges. I mean, the live stream has fundamentally changed who we are as a congregation in a way in which I don't think many people realize. And you just go through some of those Big 10 that we've done over the last 2 years. There's significant events, and I say all this just to say that who we were as a congregation 2 years ago is not who we are today. And, some of it's really sad, and some of it you lament, and some of it you praise God for. But regardless of whether we lament it or praise God, we are a different congregation. And that congregation that we were 2 years ago, that congregation is gone. It's not coming back. And there's a part of what churches are trying to figure out is how do we move forward in COVID. And part of some churches are going to make the mistake of trying to get back to what they were 2 years ago. We're never going to get back to where we were 2 years ago. But we might actually be able to be a different, better congregation in the future. There's new people here. And when you understand the church as the people and not this building, the building's still here. The building was there 2 years ago. It's still here 2 years later. What has changed are the people. The people changed. But the people are the church. So fundamentally, the church has changed. And trying to be what we were 2 years ago is never going to work, because we have a new church, a new group of people that are here. And they're different from the group that was here. I mean, if you think about last time we had our annual meeting, Dick Tillman was here. Dick Pank was here. Like, these are people that we've lost over this span of time. I mean, these are people that we loved, that ministered alongside us, and Dick Tillman and Dick Pank immensely. We're a different congregation. We just are. There's different people here, and that's something to lament, and at the same time, it's something to celebrate. Because God's doing something with the people here at Holy Apostles. And so I'm not trying to rebuild what we were, trying to be what we are right now. And I think to do that, you and I have to ask a lot of questions. And so I've listed some of the questions that you and I have to begin wrestling with, and here's a list of some of them. What is the church right now passionate about? I knew what the church was passionate about 2 years ago. What are we passionate about today? What are the people at Holy Apostles passionate about? What is God calling this church to do? What is God calling these people in this place to do in this time? What kind of gifts and ministry does this church have? What kind of gifts do the people in the church have? What do we need to start doing that we haven't been doing? What do we need to stop doing that we were doing? And again, when you look back and you look at the people as the church, and you realize that the people are fundamentally different 2 years later from what they were back then you realize that the gifts are different, that the abilities are different, that the passions are different, that the things that we were doing maybe we can't do anymore. And the things that we were never doing, maybe we can do now. Because, again, it all resides around the people. It doesn't reside around the priest. It doesn't reside around the building. It doesn't reside around programs. It resides around people. What the church is about the people that make up that church. And the people are different. The people have changed. It's 2 years of change at Holy Apostles. So, what kind of facilities do we need to be the church that we're called to be? What does the budget reflect the kind of church that we want to be? These are all questions, because what COVID did, if you go back to my previous slide, which I'm not going to, but what COVID did is it pressed the reset button for a lot of churches. It just started everything over. And churches have to figure out all over again who they are. What kind of ministry do they do? What are their gifts? And I think that we can look at that as a burden, or as something that maybe we don't want to do. I'm excited about that. I think that's really, that's what the church is meant to do, is every once in a while to reevaluate where they are in the ministry before them, and to begin walking in what God has for them. In many ways, what COVID has done might end up being a blessing for some churches. And I say some churches because I think some churches are going to be unwilling to do this. Some churches are going to be unwilling to reevaluate who they are and what they've been called to. So in some sense, it's kind of a remaking of Holy Apostles based on the people that we have. I'm going to pause there and just ask if you have any questions on this.
Then I'm going to say that I did an
Amazing job. All right. Read over what I wrote, because what I wrote, I think explains it in a little more detail. But just keep that in mind. The second thing that I want to focus on in this next year is our online presence. And one of the things that we've done over this last year is that we've increased our online presence significantly. So, like, we have sermons on Facebook and on the website. We have Bible studies and teachings on Zoom. We're live streaming our services on YouTube as well as Facebook. We're live streaming Christian Formation starting in February. This event right here is being live streamed to a group of people that we consider part of our body that can't be here. For whatever reason, they can't be here, but they're still able to be a part of what's going on. It's a really cool thing that we were able to do. And so part of moving through increasing our online presence is already accomplished, but there's a lot more to go. I want to share a couple stories with you. Tom Phillips is a priest in the diocese that I'm friends with. He is the priest at Incarnation. He is now Mickey Solari's priest. By the way, last time we met, Mickey was here, and I miss her immensely. I didn't even know how much I would miss her until she's gone. And so, but she's up there with Tom Phillips. Tom Phillips is a little bit down the road on this online presence from us. He's a little further along. But one of the things that happened in his church is that he has a good bit of pledging people that are not present. But he's actually been able to disciple them as well. And the bishop came to do confirmation. And he had a guy from Seattle, Washington fly in to be confirmed. Because that's his church. And that's his body. And see, one of the things that COVID did is it's forcing us to redefine what church is. We've been very comfortable with our definition of church. Church is when we gather here, and if you want to be a part of the church, then you've got to gather here. The eyes of the people are open, and they're not going back. Part of COVID is we have to have an online presence. It's just part of the deal now. We've got to reevaluate what it means to be a part of the church, and some of this is what it means to be a part of the church, but we can also move further into that. We can also begin setting up ways in which we can actually engage with people online, have fellowship with different people online, have accountability, prayer, encouragement, start building fellowships that are based online, but are based in holy apostles. These are things that churches are now doing because we realize that that the veil of technology has been removed as it comes to the church. That people expect to be able to have these sorts of things. And getting them in place is hugely significant. So one of the things that we're going to be working on is how do we increase and do better what our online presence? How do we live stream our services better than what we're doing now? How do we live stream what we're doing in here better than what we're doing now? How do we actually engage with people better than what we're doing right now? And you can create environments that are, in large part, online environments in which people from this congregation are engaging. We're already doing this. We're already doing this. Well, we have a Zoom Bible study that meets once a week, and we've got this great engagement that goes back and forth. It's purely online. We don't actually we never get together, meet in here. It's all online, and it's a great group of people that have a lot of fun and go back and forth. And again, you've got the Canadian couple that join us, Ralph and Ann. They're fantastic, and I'm hoping to get more and more of that. We've always had the idea that online means not personal, no interaction, and it doesn't have to be that way. And in fact, I'm not sure that we're going to be able to continue all of the gatherings that we used to do, because some of those are going to be replaced by online gatherings. I don't plan on having a Bible study in person in the parish hall, but I plan on keeping that Bible study rolling because I love it, and I love the group that meets. So it's those kind of things, but actually being intentional about it, trying to figure out how do we do this better? How do we engage with people better? How do we actually keep people accountable as far as their Christian walk that live in Kansas? How do we pray for people that live in Gainesville? How do we establish these deeper relationships with people, even though it's online? And there are ways to do it. And so, figuring out how to engage in that more is something that I'm very interested in doing, as well as in bettering what we're already doing. And I'm not even going to pretend. I'm a Facebook failure, and you all know it. I try. I just don't like it. I'm a Facebook failure. But I'm still determined to find ways that Deanna can do better on Facebook. She's good. She's good at pictures. So that's the second thing that I'm really dedicated to doing. And the third thing is that doesn't work. And the third thing here is, lastly, we've tried to do this. I really feel like this cow after 2 years, mostly because I've eaten too much over the holidays, but also because we've tried to do this 2 years in a row, and that's right before COVID. The vestry was actively trying to figure out how do we engage the community in which we're situated. How do we get our name out there? How do we become more of a presence in Satellite Beach? Because the truth is that people don't even know we exist. And I wrote it in here. I met with a woman 3 days ago. I met with a woman. It was the first time I ever met her, but she lives in Indian Atlantic or something. She lives right around here, and she said to me, "I've been down this road many times, and I never even noticed that there was a church here." She's actually driven down Grant, and she's never known that there's a church here. How many people don't actually drive down Grant and know that there's not a church here? So one of the things that we've really wanted to do for the last 2 years is try and figure out how do we increase our presence in the community. And because we've dealt with COVID for 2 years, it's continually got on the back burner. As the vestry begins to deal with COVID less and less, that doesn't mean that we're not taking it seriously. It doesn't mean that we're not still dealing with it, but we're at a place where we're moving forward. We're listening to what the people are saying. We're trying to be as safe and cautious as we can, but we're gonna move forward. We're gonna have events like this. We're gonna have our soup suppers, our Lenten soup suppers. We're gonna do it. We're going to have our sunrise service at the beach. We're going to do it. We're going to have our Ascension Day. I mean, we're going to do the things that we need to do. And maybe they're smaller, and maybe we have to wear a mask, and maybe we have to social distance, and maybe we have to use hand sanitizer, whatever we have to do, but we're going to do it. Because that's what it means to be the body of Christ, to do these things. So as the vestry begins moving more in that direction of we're doing it, it's how do we do it, we can actually focus our attention more on these things. So the three things is kind of a remaking of Holy Apostles, and much of that is trying to figure out who we are. Who are we as a congregation in 2022? We knew who we were in 2019, but that congregation is radically different from who we are today. So who are we today? The second thing is, how do we increase our online presence? And then the third thing is, how do we increase our presence in the community in which we're situated? Those are the three things that we're focused on in 2022, as well as balancing that budget. But that's my rector's report. Any questions? Hold on, let me bring it up. Any questions, comments, concerns, issues? And if anybody needs counseling, I will be available very sparsely tomorrow because I have 4 meetings. No, seriously. Questions, comments, concerns, issues? All right. All right, good deal. Then this is my closing prayer, and it is 8, I don't know what time it is. It's 8:10, and that's better than I've ever done in my entire life. So there you go. Please pray with me. Almighty and ever-living God, ruler of all things in heaven and earth, hear our prayers for this parish family. Strengthen the faithful, arouse the careless, and restore the penitent. Grant us all things necessary for our common life, and bring us all to be of one heart and mind within your holy church, through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. And that concludes the annual meeting. And we did it. We did it. It's in the books.